Codependence versus hyper independence. I knew this girl once. Her name was, we'll call her Corey. And my wife and I at the time felt like Corey should be our friend. It just made sense. We had everything in common with Corey. We went to the same school as Corey, so we basically grew up together. And now, as young adults, we were in the same religion. Corey was married. My wife and I were married. Corey had a really great sense of humor. My wife and I had a really great sense of humor. Um, and we had similar goals, ambitions. It just seemed like Corey should be our friend. But we couldn't figure out, as my wife and I were talking, like, um, why can't we seem to like get close to her? Like we see her from time to time, and every time we do, we have a great time. We laugh, we joke, we relate. But why is it we can't seem to get close to Corey? And as we thought about it, we realized, well, it's because whenever we try to get deep or we get on like a deeper personal topic, Corey changes the subject and she moves it to something that will be more lighthearted. And so we put this theory to the test. And so the next time we saw Corey, uh, well, I tried to get her on a more deep, introspective topic, get her to open up a little bit. And Corey did the same thing she always does, which is just kind of shuts down on the real topic and then gets it back to something lighthearted, changes the subject, and then we're all laughing again. But unfortunately, we're never actually getting close. I now understand that what Corey had was the hyper independence. Well, a lot of times for trauma survivors, people will go through things in life. They tend to feel like they can't trust anyone. They don't like to get close or to feel vulnerable to anyone. They don't open up to anyone. They don't want to spend too much time around certain people. They don't ask people for help. They become hyper independent. This could lead to them being antisocial and being a hermit, or maybe they have friends. Maybe they're quite well liked and popular, like Corey was. Funny, right? Good sense of humor, but they keep it only shallow. They don't want to go deep. They don't want to become close. They don't want to open up. Uh, so hyper independence is a trauma response. It's not healthy. Independence is healthy. Healthy independence is healthy. But hyper independence is not. And so I want to help you to be able to ascertain the difference between being hyper independent and being healthily independent. But while we're on the subject, we got to talk about the rest of us, which are the codependents. And many of you here are codependent or hyper dependent, which these are just big words for somebody who has to have someone else. You don't feel like you're okay just in your own space, just alone, just single, just without friends. No, 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 no. You have to have a best friend, or you have to have a boyfriend, or you have to have someone in your life. Even if they're toxic, you keep the person in your life, you keep close to that person because you don't feel okay alone. Hyperdependence or codependency is a condition by which you fear being by yourself. And so you do anything and everything to have other people in your life. You don't have a clear sense of boundaries. You don't set boundaries very clearly, and you don't enforce boundaries when you do set them. And in the experiences I've had, there's nobody more codependent than those with borderline personality disorder. My borderline sufferers top the cake in codependency. If you've ever met someone with borderline, they you'll meet them and they'll be moved into your house within 2 weekends. That's how codependent they are. It's just like they need help. They just are always going through something in their life where they really just need help. And your heart breaks because these people have good hearts. They're not bad people. They just are in bad situations, but they're always in a bad situation. And so you try to help them, and you quickly realize this is a black hole of assistance that you just stepped into, trying to help this dear person that you love with borderline personality disorder. Because as you try to help, as you try to help, as you try to help, you're losing resources while they're not getting better. And then they do something to sabotage your ability to help them. So now you feel like you have to be the bad guy and you have to set some boundaries, inevitably, with a person with borderline because of their lack of boundaries. You end up having to set up boundaries, and then it doesn't usually end well, and you end up having to split up. And again, these people are dears, they're sweethearts. Sometimes they don't even hold it against you unless they have a borderline split, and then you're the worst person in the world, which that's really painful considering you got so close to this person. It's very close. It's very easy to get close to this person with borderline personality disorder because they're hyper dependent. They're codependent. If you leave, can you take me with you? That's their mindset. Like, as long as I'm just not out here alone, right? I have stories on top of stories of times that I tried to help someone who had borderline personality disorder out. But one example that more recently comes to mind was when we did a retreat. We had one young lady shows up and she's like, first of all, she doesn't pay for her whole ticket to the retreat. She still hasn't paid me back. If you're listening, you know who you are. You still owe me. But she's like, hey, can you help me out? You know, I don't have enough money to pay for the ticket for the whole retreat, so I can give you a little bit. So she paid me what she could. I'm like, hey, it's fine. You can you can pay me later. It doesn't have to be right now, just whenever you get to it. The point is that you come on the retreat, you heal. Well, she comes on the retreat and she sabotages her own healing on the retreat. And she swears she got a lot out of it, but she could have gotten more if she would have actually stayed at the retreat. What she would do instead is she would go off into other towns and cities nearby and I assume party. I don't know what she was doing, but there would be whole nights she just wouldn't be there. And now it's like, well, here's a young lady who's, by the way, in a different country than her home country. And I could start to feel responsible, like, hey, where are you? And why are you just out and about overnight? But I have to detach and just let her be a grown up that's acting like a child. It's acting like a teenager. This is just typical high risk behavior of someone with borderline. But what ends up happening at the end of the retreat is because she's not in sync and lockstep with the rest of us when we needed to leave the retreat house, all of her belongings were still there, but she wasn't there. So it's like now she leaves all the belongings, her personal effects, up to us, up to me. What am I supposed to do with your personal belongings? I can't take them with me. We're all going to separate towns and cities. So the place is, we got to turn it back over to the owners. The cleaners have already shown up, and she's nowhere in sight to come pick up her stuff, creating this quandary, this situation. And that's kind of what happens when you deal with these hyper codependent people. And then you have the next level down, which is CPTSD. That's most all of us here. We have codependency, maybe not on the highest level, but reasonably codependent. We don't want to be alone. We don't want to be single. We really have trouble cutting off friends and family and toxic people in our life. And so I want to help you to, if you find yourself to be hyper dependent, hyper dependent, which is codependent, or hyper independent, I want you to find a balance. And so we're going to work on being able to see it, identify yourself in these examples. Okay. So, first of all, emotional needs. When it comes to emotional needs, a codependent person is like, I need you to fix my emotions. A codependent person is like, I need you to validate me. I look to the outside for validation. I don't feel okay. My emotions are too much for me to handle on my own. Or my job in life is to fix your emotions and validate you, right? We have some of us who are the superheroes, the white knights. We're also codependent because we want to go and help everyone else and fix everyone else, right? So that was me apparently. I was the white knight. I always had to fix and help everyone else. Um, sorry, I just had a flashback to a time. I was literally driving in a bad neighborhood in Chicago, and I see this young lady as I'm driving by. She's just sitting on a curb and she's got her head in her hands like this. I'm just like, I gotta ask her if she's okay. I can't just drive by. Like, obviously something is wrong. Why is she out on the street sitting on a curb looking this sad? And I had to wrestle with myself to not stop the car and ask this person. I actually did stop the car, but I didn't get out and ask the person if they were okay. I didn't roll down the window or anything. So, like a block ahead, I had to stop the car. I had to talk myself through it. I had to talk myself out of being the white knight. Do not ask this woman, what is the problem? What's wrong? Do you need help? Do not get involved. You don't want to know. She is a grown up. It's none of your business. You are just driving by. You are a man. You need to just go. Someone else needs to help her. You cannot help her. I had to talk myself through that because the pull of just seeing someone who looked like they needed help was so strong for me at that time. And that's also a form of codependency, this feeling like you have to be the fixer, the hero, the white knight, someone who's going to step in and help everything. So as you can see, we're like magnets for the borderline person, right? We're also magnets for the narcissist who exploits, oh, wow, this person will do anything and everything. They bend over backwards, right? And so that's why you just see the borderlines and the narcissists come together. CPTSD narcissists come together. The white knights and the narcissists, they're just attracted to each other because it's, hey, I will do anything for you. And the narcissists are like, I will accept everything from you. And there you have it. On the other hand, you have hyper independence, which is, I don't need anyone. I'll handle my emotions on my own always. I don't trust anyone ever. That's hyper independence. So, what would be the balance of this when it comes to emotional needs? So, what we want is healthy interdependence, or healthy independence is fine as well. Healthy interdependence means that you know how to have relationships with others, that you can rely upon others to a degree, but you don't need others the way a codependent person does. That's healthy independence, healthy interdependence. That's where we really want to be. In fact, let me draw you a diagram of what we're talking about here. So, like, if there's a line, we'll make it like a line graph here. And this line represents the two extremes. So over here, we would have the hyper independent, like I don't I don't need anything from anyone. We'll put the H there, the hyper independent. And here we have the hyper dependent or the codependent, which is the other extreme. So over here, I don't need anyone. I don't need help with anything. Over here, I have to have someone else. I cannot do it on my own, right? Where we strive to be is right here. This is healed. This is balanced. Over here, we have a little bit of dependence. This is healthy interdependence. And over here, we have a little bit of independence. This is relatively healthy to be a little bit independent. That's fine. It's relatively healthy to be a little bit interdependent. That's fine. We just don't want to go to the extremes of being codependent or being hyper independent. Ideally, you would generally exist in this frame right here. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's look at an example when it comes to healthy interdependence. This is I can share my feelings and needs openly. I'm okay if the other person cannot always meet my needs. I don't need another person to talk to. I'm selective about what topics I open up about. I'm selective about the audience I open up with. But when I'm with a trusted friend, I'm able to open up and I enjoy it. That's healthy interdependence, healthy independence. That's healed mindset. Does that make sense? Let's take another example with boundaries. A codependent person is non-existent boundaries, weak boundaries. Saying no feels unsafe. They feel like they're being selfish. They feel guilty if they say no. Oh my God, I would be so guilty if I said no, right? And then they don't tolerate boundaries of others. The codependent person will rely on titles. I'm your best friend. You would have a boundary with me. I am your best friend. Or I'm your mom. Or mom, I'm your daughter. Right. And so we feel like there shouldn't be any boundaries because I have a title. And then that means that you don't get to be an individual. Does that make sense? That's codependence. You grow up in a household with boundaries. Many of us grew up in a household with very blurred boundaries or not very clear boundaries. Our parents didn't teach us to have our own space, have our own autonomy, and to be able to say no. And so we go into the world thinking that that's what love is. We think love is where there's no difference between you and the other person, and you're just all enmeshed with each other. But that's not what love is it? That is not what love is. That is codependency. That's codependency. So, on the other hand, the other extreme, you have hyper independence. Hyper independence is rigid boundaries, overly strong boundaries to avoid vulnerability or dependence. You'll find this person to be cold and unapproachable. So that when you ask them a question that normally a person wouldn't feel a need to set boundaries around, they've got boundaries there. That's what I mean by rigid or hyper strict boundaries. The hyper independent person has no interest in getting close to you, no interest in opening up. Saying about hyper independent people, they have rigid, overly strong boundaries. They avoid vulnerability. Um, they don't want to feel dependent on anyone. They can appear to be cold and unapproachable. So a hyper independent person will you'll try to talk to them or try to get close to them, and they'll have like strict boundaries that don't really seem necessary or something that another person would have boundaries around. That might be a sign that you're a hyper independent person, a little bit too boundaried, right? Where people can't even get close to you. So, what would be the healthy balance? Well, if we're healthily independent, healthily interdependent, then we clearly express our limitations and we quickly respect the boundaries of others on both sides. We clearly express. So, what would that sound like? In your relationships, you would be able to very clearly be like, no, no, thanks. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to come. Hey, you guys go ahead. And you would be able to respect other people's boundaries very easily as well. Oh, hey, no problem. Oh, no, no, no big deal. Oh, I understand. I understand totally. Yeah, don't feel pressured. That would be you, right? I had a buddy who was trying to ask me about a personal issue just recently. I didn't know him that well, right? He's just an acquaintance. But as he kept asking, I didn't really feel comfortable opening up. So I said, I'm going to have to set a boundary there. And his response is, hey, man, we got to talk to people. You got to be able to talk and see what other people have to say. They can help you. He was not a bad person. He was coming from a good place. But did you notice how just a very tiny bit he disrespected my boundary? I don't think he had any bad intentions, but sometimes people aren't sensitive to the boundaries of others. I very clearly said, hey, I've got to set a boundary there. And his response should have been more like, okay, I understand, no problem. Please consider this and that. But instead, he just immediately launched into basically saying, I'm wrong and I need to learn to open up more. So, got to be careful, right? Sometimes people can bring their lack of boundaries into the relationship and create a toxic environment. So, there's a balance. Healthy interdependence would be very easily respecting the boundaries of other people. When it comes to identity, a codependent person is we are one, we're enmeshed together. We share a car, we share a house, we share everything. I don't know who I am without you. I don't know who I am without my boyfriend. Hyper independence would be my identity is guarded. In fact, my whole identity is defined by my ability to do everything by myself. I do it all alone. Own house, own car, own bills, own right. It's like I don't depend on or look to anyone. That's hyper independence. So where's the healthy balance here? Healthy interdependence would be each person keeps their own identity while being able to connect with others. That's healthy interdependence. So you don't feel threatened by someone else doing something similar to you. They're not stealing your identity. You don't try to become one identity with another person, but you also don't feel like your whole identity is that no one helps you and that you do everything by yourself. You keep your identity, but you still interact, you still relate, and you still can have interdependence on one another. It's okay to ask for help when you need it. Sometimes we have to. So it's better to develop that skill in life. It can be painful to accept help, but I wouldn't be where I am if there weren't loving, generous people who helped me. And anyone would say the same thing who is anywhere. They would say, hey, I wouldn't be here without other people who were willing to help. So you have to be able to accept help sometimes as well. Speaking of, when it comes to help and support, a hyper codependent or hyper dependent person feels responsible for other people's problems, expects others to fix their problems. They either feel responsible for other people's problems or they expect others to fix their problems. Whereas a hyper independent person, on the other end of the spectrum, refuses help even when they're overwhelmed, even when they got to move their whole house from one place to another. They're not going to ask anyone else for help. They look at accepting help as being like a weakness. That's a hyper independent person. So, where's the balance? The healthy interdependent balance would be I'm comfortable giving and receiving help. I can give help, I can receive help, but I know where my limitations are. I'm able to set boundaries and understand where I stop and the other person starts. When it comes to vulnerability, codependent people use vulnerability as a way to seek rescue or manipulate closeness. Codependent people manipulate closeness using vulnerability. Please, I need help. I'm in a real bad situation. The situation is bad. They're so vulnerable. They're so vulnerable. And that's what makes you want to help out. That's what makes you want to help out. But they're manipulating in order to get closer to you. That's why they're opening up so much. That's why they're making themselves so vulnerable. Um, A hyper independent person hides all vulnerability. Hey, were you sick the other day? I'm fine. Are you sad about? I'm fine. They don't want to open up. There's no vulnerability. There's no space to just understand them. They're just, no, I don't tell anyone anything at all. I trust no one. I'm fine. There's nothing. You can't get a moment of understanding of this person because they're just fine. No, no, no. Everything's good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. 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 So, healthy interdependence allows us to realize vulnerability is courage, vulnerability is trust. So, they have the ability, when they're healthy, to give some vulnerability, to give some trust at times, at chosen times. And other times they know how to pull it back and to not always be vulnerable. They don't use it as a way of manipulating, trying to get close to people. They're just balanced. They They understand vulnerability is courage and trust, and they show that when the time comes, right? It's appropriate sometimes to show vulnerability, to show trust. It's appropriate sometimes. Finally, in relationships, a codependent person, unbalanced, one person's giving too much, or the other may take advantage or be overly relied upon. That's a codependent relationship. So look at your relationships. Are you feeling like you're giving more than you're actually getting out of the relationship? That's codependent. Hyper independent person, isolated. When it comes to relationships, they avoid reliance on others, they avoid intimacy, they don't trust. As a result, there are no relationships. They might say, I got friends or whatever, but they're not even that close. They don't have relationships because they're hyper independent. This one hyper independent woman, I asked her why she doesn't trust men or something like that. She said, because every man ends up either being a creep or an alcoholic or having some egregious, terrible thing that he's hiding that's bad about him. That's an overgeneralization. Every man on earth, come on now. There are billions of people. You don't know every man. You've had some bad experiences. She's been through some trauma. So she's speaking out of her trauma. It's not true that you can't trust anyone. That's generalization. There are some that you should not trust. And there are a few that you might be able to get a good connection with and you can show a little vulnerability to. So please seek interdependence, healthy independence, not hyper independence. Don't take it too far. Codependence, I can't function without you. Hyper independence, I won't function if you're around. Healthy interdependence, we both function better when we support one another without losing ourselves. If you would like to become more healed, more healthily interdependent, enroll in healing school on my website, healingcourse.org, and do one-on-one sessions with me. You will find that those tools will help you to become more and more healed and healthily interconnected, interdependent with others.